Mook, good day, sir. Always a pleasure to see you.
Right back at you, Mitch. How's things?
Good, and I gotta ask because I know you're dialing in from basically well Chicagoland,
Yes.
and you got the hooded sweatshirt on today. You got weather today?
No, it's actually for this time of year, it's been outstanding here. It's just kind of, I had just woken up and this is just what I kind of threw on for, this is I guess, my bathrobe, if you will. I just keep it hanging on the door and I just got up and threw it on.
Yeah, yeah. And I get because when I get up in the morning, I've worn a t-shirt and boxers to
I want to
bed.
rock
Don't
this chest scar for
Yeah, we're
you.
gonna. I'll show you my scar too. And like, anybody who sees the start of this episode is gonna be so turned on. But
Badge of honor.
But hey, speaking of badges of honor, let's not get it. It really is, honestly. 'Cause I was going to show you my tracheotomy scar. You're showing me your open heart scar. It's a badge of honor at our age. But
Yes, sir.
one day we'll do the scar episode because I didn't realize how many I had until I started
Yeah.
counting them. But we're going to talk about Michael Jordan today, which always brings me pleasure because you and I don't know, we didn't
Well,
grow up in that area, but I think era, but we were in our young
we
20s.
experienced it in our prime and his prime kind of matched up because
Well,
he's basically our age.
he is. He's like a year younger than us. Did you know
Yeah.
that? But the thing that prompted me to because I heard it on somebody was saying, did you know it was a fact that most generations have never seen Michael Jordan play? I'm like, what? You never saw Mike? But it makes
Well,
sense because if you're
the
born
same
after like
things with
19,
Tiger.
oh yeah, that's true. That's true. And I was going to save this till the end, but if you want to see something close, it's not there, but it's close. I'm not sure when we're going to air this, but go back and try to find the highlights from Game 4 of the National League Championship Series and see what Shohei Ohtani did last night on Game
Oh,
4.
well, yeah, for a single game
Yeah,
performance, that's going to be up there in
yeah, it's
any
going to
sport.
be, it's a bar raiser. But the thing, like for, two things with Jordan is he had, we're going to talk about it, but he did it night after night and through all kinds of, issues and through problems. So it's like, because well, first of all, let's start the era so we understand what we're talking about. Did you know, and I had to look into this a little bit. First of all, we both knew Mike was drafted out of North Carolina in 1984,
Yes.
number three overall. For two
Yes.
reasons, because back then they were still appreciating the big men. So
Yes.
Elijah Wan went
Thank
ahead of him.
goodness. And then
Sam Bowie
Sam
went ahead
Bowie.
of, yeah, and then Mike. But even Patrick Ewing, another renowned big man, he said he played with Mike in high school against him, and he said I didn't think that Mike was going to be that good.
No.
So they did kind of take a chance. They took a chance a little bit with Mike,
Well, I'll
the
say a
Bulls.
little bit because whatever Patrick's describing, and in those few years between that, when the Bulls drafted him, it was starting to be pretty much widely known that this kid's he's special. He's
Well, I think it
special.
might because it's number one, there's that special talent, and I think the same thing with Otani. But it's a God-given quote unquote. But if you don't work your ass off to develop it, it's going to go to waste.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that he got kind of lucky the first time when in year one, Kevin Lockery was his coach, and Kevin was old school. He was an old school veteran, no BS,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until what
Well,
5 years later, Phil Jackson came along.
Doug Collins did a little bit of that too.
Yeah, Collins was in there too. I forgot about Doug Collins as a coach of the Bulls. But
Go ISU.
yeah, yeah, there you go. Both of us. But
How weird is that on this quick tangent that Illinois State had a number one overall draft pick at one time?
who?
Doug Collins.
He was drafted number one?
I believe he was the number one overall pick the year he was drafted. I
That's
believe that.
insane, right?
I
I
mean,
mean,
we can look
again,
it up, but
because we lived Illinois State University.
yes,
That's amazing.
yes. And he was on the Olympic team, the 76 famous Olympic team that got robbed by Russia.
Oh man. But the thing is, excuse me, with the Jordan era, for us, we lived through it. So it's hard to explain what it felt like watching Jordan in real time. And because the 80s and 90s, that type of basketball wasn't just basketball. They were brawls. There was blood
Yes.
often. There were elbows being thrown. It wouldn't be unusual to see someone get shoved, a couple rows
No,
into the fence. But
there's
also, I
a
think there was bad blood. There was bad blood. Because
there's a
if you
great old
name
video
me,
out
name me,
there. Go
name
ahead,
me
I'm
right now,
sorry.
real quick. Name me right now, real quick. Two teams if you want, go three that the Bulls were notorious for having bad blood with.
Knicks,
Yep.
Pacers,
Yep.
Cleveland.
Pistons,
Oh, Pistons,
Celtics.
yeah. The Pistons up, yeah, number one up there. But the Knicks and Pacers, Pistons, I would say. Definitely some with the Celts.
But you're going to say there's an old photo?
There's an old video of you talking about that kind of basketball. And other than Robert Parrish, he's the only person I can name from the video off my memory here, but he literally, somebody had drew contact with him in the lane. He literally rained punches down on him,
I
rained hammer
remember.
fist down.
Yeah.
Didn't even get a technical that I know of. Was not ejected, wasn't suspended, might have gotten a technical foul, that's all. But it's
Yeah, I'm
like,
telling you.
it's just so different.
That's where the phrase, because we grew up, even like we were playing street ball, no
No
blood, no
blood, no
foul.
foul, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's to me, that still makes perfect sense. But another thing that was different back then is the games weren't streamed. Oh God, I
No.
want to do the air quotes, but not. So you kind of planned your week around it. You took a look at whatever the TV guide, the Chicago Tribune, like when are the Bulls playing?
Yeah, and you couldn't
Especially,
also watch a million highlights even if you didn't want to watch the game. You couldn't
oh
just
yeah,
click on all the highlights.
that's a very good point. Because for us, like I mentioned, like you're in Chicagoland. I was born in Chi-Town. My parents moved me about an hour southwest, but it still was Chicagoland. And you got to remember back then, like 84, 85, we
It
had
is getting a
I
little warm in here.
I got
Is this appropriate right now?
no, it's not.
But I am
Get,
getting
get,
hot. I'm gonna get a shirt
uh,
on here.
I'll keep talking. Go ahead.
All right.
But back then it was like you got to remember 84, 85. You had the Chicago Bears. So that
I'm
was
listening. I apologize
yeah.
for this, but I'm
No,
listening. Go
no,
ahead.
nobody's. But and you bastards won't let you bastards being Chicago fans, you won't let it go. That's 40 years ago, you guys. But but the thing was, it was like, because you had that championship fever, and then like just 6 years later, it started again with the Bulls. So it was more than that. It felt like this was our house. It was like everybody was in the neighborhood. And pardon me, everybody, if you're listening, I'm gonna give you a couple seconds to turn it down if kids are listening, because I'm gonna use two bad swears here coming up. Okay, here we go. This was our house, and you don't fuck around in our house. Not with the
No,
Bulls,
exactly.
not with Mike, not with Scotty, not with BJ, maybe with BJ, Horace, or Coach Jackson. It was also, but it was like
And
that was
then it
our
also
house.
became Dennis Rodman that later on too.
Don't jump ahead.
Yeah, right.
But it was our home. It was
Hmm.
a vibe that's hard to explain. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a vibe all the way down to where we were, about an hour southwest of town.
Yeah. And
And
when
it,
that
it, it
intro music would play,
oh, I'm getting the tingles now. Because it was more I can remember, like, we had friends over like maybe Sunday afternoon, like the CBS game of the week, or on any given like weeknight, and then we talk, and the music would start and everyone would shut the fuck up.
the NBC music,
Oh, and
NBA
you
on
had
NBC.
you had to watch it, and because it was like a family. It was like because but you're right though, because even when Rodmus came over from the and we just mentioned we had bad blood with the Pistons. But he came over for the second run of championships, and you can see my shirt behind me, huh? Huh? Is that
Yes.
nice?
Yes.
As soon as I got that from my kids back in '96 or '7, maybe it was the ex-wife, but I put it away. I'm like, I'm never gonna wear this. And then like later on in life, I pulled it out like between one of my six moves I've made in the last 12 years. I saw the Bulls shirt. I'm like, I'm gonna frame this bad boy and put it up. But Rodman was accepted because he showed that warrior, that brawler mentality. And it didn't take too long because he was a goofy bastard as
Yes,
well.
yes, he was,
But
but he watched his P's and Q's because of his respect for Jordan.
exactly. And he was a defensive and rebounding machine.
I just watched a new video of him, and it actually you don't even know anymore if people are AI and stuff, but it was him talking about how easily he could guard LeBron if he had to guard LeBron.
Well,
He goes, I guarded Shaq. Do you think I've got any problem guarding LeBron? He goes, he's got no moves. He's just big and strong. He's got no moves. He
yeah.
goes, I could guard him with no problem at all.
And
And
it's unfortunate.
nobody in your GOAT argument is ever going to say that about 23. Oh yeah, I
No,
can
no.
guard him easily. I can guard him
And
easily.
and conversely, I mean, you don't want to piss him off because I recently saw an Instagram of like, because now that you and I have been texting about it, we're getting flooded with Instagram videos.
Sure.
But there was one, I can't remember, it was like in Portland or something like that, where Mike was having an off day. He had like 18 points in the third quarter.
Vancouver. I just
Was
watched
it?
the video 5 minutes before we got on here.
And
I'm
the
not
kid
even
shot his
kidding.
mouth. The
The
kid
one you're
shot his
talking about.
mouth off.
Yeah,
He walked
Derek
over to
Martin said, "You're having an off night, Mike. Shots not falling tonight, Mike."
exactly.
And Mike went back in the game and scored 24 points in 6.5 minutes and won
Yep.
the
And what
game.
else did he do? What else did he do?
He said he walked over to the bench and said, "Shut up, bitch."
Yeah, see, I'm telling you. But that's it though. It wasn't just basketball. It was Chi-Town, because you see LeBron's trying to just he'll skip teams to try to go into a situation that's just right. And I can add a few pieces, including myself. Let's give him some respect,
Yeah.
and we can take a championship. But Mike built these teams, or he was the captain of these teams. And and
Yes.
and you probably still feel it too. It's the South Side grit. It's the pride and it's blue collar, strength. It's what you understand what it means to grind. And that was
Yes.
like that's part of what it meant in that time. So people, I mean, if you didn't live it, I mean, you're probably never gonna, but we did, and that's what it felt like.
Yeah, for sure. And then because now the mentality is like, who can I go partner up with to get a championship? We're,
Yeah, yeah. Who can we get to come to my team
yeah,
to
who can I recruit basically? It's
see? And
just a
it's
different mentality. And I'm not saying one is better than the other, but we lived ours, so we're always going to probably have a bias toward it.
yeah. I mean, and then this week's episode that's out now, if you haven't listened to it, go back and check to it. And like I said, I'm not sure, but it was like, did baby boomers grow up faster than other generations? And it may or may not be true. In fact, if you listen to the data, you'll see probably we didn't, but we're still going to have that pride that says we did.
Well, I think if you're talking strictly data, you could probably make that argument that every single generation, this just is a repeating pattern. Everyone thinks they had it harder than the other one, and for
Hmm.
whatever reasons they might have. They didn't have the technology or whatever the advances are with every generation. But I'm sure these arguments get made literally every generation of people.
Hey, I'm telling you, we approached it open-mindedly. I'm not going to give it away, but you'll see it at the end because I'm sure you've listened to it. But but if you want to touch on stats, I mean, they're easy to point to. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so there's way too many for us to go into this one thing. But the one thing I
Hmm.
think that makes the most sense, we've already touched on it, kinda, six championships, six finals MVPs, and the only player in NBA history to lead his team to two separate three-peats while racking up a finals MVP in each series. Now
Right.
that's not luck. That's
No.
he never
No.
lost in the finals. 6 and
Nope.
0.
Nope. I'm not ever going to use that as the end all be all, but it's up there as a
Yeah, exactly.
argument
Well,
because
because well, go ahead.
because being a team sport, it's hard to use the championship argument, in my opinion. Because is Will Purdue a better player than Charles Barkley?
Nope.
Well, Will's got three championships. Doesn't
I
he?
well,
He
see,
was a
I'll walk right
starter
into
on.
that one. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, just saying that's why I don't necessarily use the championship argument all the time, but it's more so his performance in those championship moments. He never had
Well,
an off night or an off game or an
if you
off
want to talk,
series.
if you want to give another Illinois State reference, Rick Lamb had a scholarship. There you go. Remember that big
Big,
stupid.
big fucking strong motherfucker though.
Yeah, I know. See, that's when Bill Lambier probably got him his scholarship. But uh but that wasn't just, that wasn't because he had the fire. That's the thing with Jordan. You could see he had that fire.
He wanted to
People
be
used
great, and he wanted
remember
his
when
teammates to be great with him.
because it got to a point where like people used to say, you've heard the phrase, you can't stop him, you can only hope to contain him. Because we've
Hmm.
said that playing hoops before as hoops.
Yes,
As-
dunking on an
but
8 foot rim.
but check that link, and when I release this episode, I'll put this link in the comments when I release it. But there's a link on there to Pure Sports plus two whatever. But it's the story of Dan Marley. Remember him?
Thunder
Great 3-point
Dan.
shooter. I think he played for Phoenix.
He
I'm
did
not
play for
sure.
Phoenix. I was always a fan of his for whatever my reasons were, but I thought he was a gritty, good player.
Yeah, yeah. But Jerry and also the owner of the Bulls, Jerry Krause, also loved Dan Marley. And just because Krause liked him was enough for Jordan. He says it in his quote. He said, I knew that he liked him, but that was enough for me. He said, you think he's a great defensive player? Fine. I'm going to show
I'm
you
gonna
he's
torch
not.
him for
He
51 or whatever.
did. And he did. He
I'm gonna put
torched
a
it.
50 burger on you.
And see that's and then because you and I we watched it. I'm pretty sure we might have been watching it together. The game when Jordan had the flu
Oh
and
yeah.
and he had to gut it out and just to get to because it was important that he play. I'm not sure whatever we were driving to, but He gutted out with the flu, almost dead on his feet. So, Scotty's holding him up. He's barely, but 38 points. And
Hmm.
so he made that defense with the flu look small, and that's like the notes say. That's legend. That's
Well, the legendary stories just go on and on. Every time I thought I've heard them all, I watch videos and hear a new one. But the one that if we're talking strictly an argument versus LeBron, the one that I think ends it all, and Stephen A. Smith is the first one I heard say it, and there's other players that have said it. Everybody respects LeBron. He goes, not a single player has ever feared him. He goes, and they feared Michael Jordan. And I think, what else do you need to hear from his peers?
yeah. That's because I've seen the recent one. Well, you saw that one. I saw the one from Shaq, and they asked Shaq. They said, "Was there ever any somebody who
Yeah,
didn't want to?" He's
leave
like
Mike
Black Jesus.
alone.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
like
right. He goes, you don't talk shit to Black Jesus.
I
And
know, and
there's a whole montage of these Hall of Famers saying this in the one you're
Bird.
talking about.
Well, because
Bird,
because
Kobe.
I was going to touch on the Olympic Games, and again, respect to Kobe because he's in my opinion close, but nowhere near, but still. But the Olympic Games, so when Jordan went to the Olympics first in 84, so nothing really much then, but in 92, they didn't just win the gold. That's when he fired up worldwide basketball
Right.
fervor. So the 92 Dream Team, I'm getting the tingles again because I can remember like it was yesterday. It wasn't the best basketball team ever assembled. It was like the quote unquote a rolling thunderstorm of talent.
Yeah.
Because you had Mike, you had Magic, you had Larry Bird, you had Barkley, Patrick Ewing, John
Like
Stockton.
Mount
Okay.
Rushmore type players.
But all of them, they said they looked to Mike as a standard because it was one of those things. Like even Magic said, it's Magic said it flat out. He said, "There's Michael and there's the rest of us."
Yeah.
Magic Johnson said that.
Well, Magic learned that in the Dream Team practices. He tells a legendary story from those practices where, because he was still kind of the man in the NBA. Larry was kind of at the tail end with the back injury, but Mike came in and said something about there's a new sheriff in town in the
Uh-huh.
room,
Uh-huh.
and then after they ran a couple scrimmages, Magic went back to Larry in the locker room and said he ain't lying. He goes, he just knew right then. He goes, this is it. This is the
Well, let's see.
guy.
How old would he have been? He was drafted in 84. Let's just say he was 22. He would have been 30. Yeah.
Close to, well, he's born in 63, right?
Yeah, so he would have been
Alexa, what's
31.
Michael Jordan's birthday?
Oh, wow. Shout out to the AI.
I didn't hear her.
We know he's a year
Alexa,
older
what's
than us.
Michael Jordan's birthday? She's just going to tell me the month and day. Alexa, what
Hey,
year was
let
Michael
let it
Jordan
go.
born?
Let it go.
No, I need to know now. I can't. I'm going to fix it.
So, but everywhere because that was in
63.
I just
So
fucking
he'd have been 28, 29.
oh yeah, 92.
Dream,
I was thinking
dream team.
94 Olympics, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was in Barcelona. And that's why I say that's where you could see they started like the world started noticing
Yeah,
basketball and
100%.
Michael Jordan because I guess it was like when he was like walking around town, they'd be yelling Michael, Michael
And
before
then
the
he
games
saw
even
there was a
started.
giant building side mural of him in Barcelona,
Yeah,
like that
was there?
covered the whole side of a five-story building. And there's a famous picture of him stopping and pointing at it. It's like Jesus Christ.
That's all I want, man. I don't
Yeah.
want much in life. I know I'm never gonna have a legacy. It's just gonna be
No.
like quietly he worked 30 years, raised a couple good kids, and now he's dead. So let's go have some beers and let's forget him. But
Well,
that,
at least they're gonna, I don't know what they're gonna say at mine. What are you gonna say? He
well,
didn't build anything. He's got nothing.
but
He's got
you
no family, no
but
anything.
you're a legacy up and of your own. So you're gonna have to deal with that because you're Mook. You're still Mook.
All right.
But the thing was like, Mike got people around the world, kids around the world picking up
Yep.
basketballs. So that was
100%.
like that was like, above and beyond. I mean, I'm not going to keep bringing up what's his name. We've talked about him enough. But Jordan didn't just play the game, he expanded it. And so before him, he helped fellow athletes more than anybody else because, before him, they were just pitchmen, selling beer or
Well,
I can still I remember Joe Frazier's Miller Lite commercial, the first one. That was embarrassing. But
Well, Magic and Larry are credited with saving the NBA, and that's fact. They just did when
oh
those
yeah,
two
that
came out.
one-on-one brawl, yeah.
But then, from their college rivalry going into the NBA, they saved the NBA. They did. But then MJ came along and just took it next level that they didn't even think was possible.
Well, he also made his fellow athletes, including himself, into brands. So, like when Nike signed him in '84, there was just a shoe company. They were just
Hmm.
like going after Adidas and Converse.
Hmm.
Converse. I still got some Chuck Taylors, but so they hope to, like they said in the notes here, they hope to sell 3 million bucks worth of Air Jordans in the first 4 years. Instead, they did 126 million in the
Yeah.
first year.
Yeah, a
So,
little bit higher projected than projected. It was fantastic.
and I know his mom got him for the first time ever, got him a share, a percentage of everything. So she helped him out too. She's because I remember Nike and saying that that's not done, Mrs. Jordan. She's like, well, maybe we better change the way things are done because my boy's going to sell shoes. So,
Yes.
but
Yes.
but the NBA banned the original black and red ones. Did you remember that?
Yeah, because something about the color scheme was off. Not
Yeah,
enough white.
some kind of uniform rules. But Nike paid the fines, and then but now you got the stigma of the banned Jordans. So every kid's got to have the banned Jordans.
Well, that's just like there was a talking about that same topic with the shoe. There's a famous clip out there. He did Letterman back then, and he was Letterman had the shoe out, was showing it to him, and Jordan mentioned that the NBA or Letterman might have mentioned that the NBA like didn't let him wear it. And when he asked what's wrong with the shoe, Jordan was like, "Well, there's not enough white in it." And then Letterman famously says, "Just like the league." He's like,
Yeah, see, Betsy,
so,
see, things have changed. I mean,
yeah.
but the NBA rode that way, because he. Oh, do you remember like how famous was the "I Want to Be Like Mike" commercial for
Oh yeah, the
Gatorade?
Gatorade commercial.
I
I
you know I
think
didn't know
there's
I
people of a certain age that still would know what you're talking about that with that reference.
well, please look it up, you guys, if you want to check it out. Look up the "Be Like Mike" commercial. That was so much fun. Again, the kids loved it, but that's the Jordan
Yes.
effect. He turned, what was like basically with that brawling game, and he gave it some style. So he turned it into like a
Hmm.
culture, and he didn't make people, just want to play basketball. He made them want to walk like Mike, to be like Mike. And that, so, I'm sure Spike Lee saw that, and that's what he built that upon.
Well, what's the time frame? And I apologize for the lighting. I have to take you mobile for a second. Um, what's the time frame of the '84 Olympics and when the Bulls drafted him? They had already drafted him, right?
Well, yeah, the drafts earlier in the year, I think it was the Summer Olympics, so you probably had to
Well,
have permission from the Bulls to play.
if you're wondering, like, what people thought of him, because I don't know if you remember this, and this would never happen today just because of the level of play, but the Olympic team was still just collegians then. And
Oh
Jordan
yeah,
took
yeah, yeah.
his little roster of collegians. They played an 8 game exhibition against NBA All-Stars, like serious NBA players like Patrick Ewing, Isaiah Thomas, and this college bunch of college guys led by Jordan went 8-0 in those games against
I remember.
NBA All-Stars.
Yeah, I heard that. I didn't remember that, but then no, now I get why you're asking because it was before he joined the team. So,
And that's when their then coach, Bobby Knight, made the proclamation. He goes, "This is the best basketball player I've ever seen." He and so he wasn't his potential was somewhat known when the Bulls drafted him. But again,
well, yeah,
the
they went number three to get him. So yeah, there had to be some reason.
right. But
But the legacy of Mike is like, and it's got to be, I don't want to say annoying. It's probably like an accepting, but every star, quote unquote, since Jordan has been chasing his ghost. Kobe did a lot. That's why I mentioned earlier because he did a lot to make his game look like Mike's. Yeah, that's
well,
definitely.
he was the player that most resembled Jordan's game.
Well, yeah, that fadeaway for sure.
He patented like he learned everything from watching Jordan film. And coincidentally, the physical resemblance, the height and the same weight, basically, it was just uncanny.
Yeah, that's true too.
But he
But
just,
and, but it seemed like he had that fire too.
oh yeah, 100%.
But that's where what because we talk about the numbers and everything he left behind. That's why I say when I go too deep into the stats because we go on forever. But the standard, that the level of play is like the he could flip a switch. When the game got ugly, he could be playing, or like we talked about that one thing, if he got pushed, then he got mean.
Yeah.
And he got really mean sometimes.
Well, fast forward to the dream team. Just the legendary stories can go on. We could go on for hours. But they were out wherever they were in Barcelona, and Chuck Daly and Charles Barkley and Jordan went out and played 18 holes of golf. They had a game that
Yeah,
night. I
yeah, I
think it was
remember that.
against Portugal. And Charles is telling the story in this video. And they finish, and Jordan says he wanted to play another 18. And Chuck Daly's like, "Are you sure we got a game tonight?" And Jordan's like, "I'm good, I'm good." So he plays another 18. So then they get to the stadium that night to play, and Daly's giving them their assignments, and he puts Jordan on like the forward, the small forward or something. Jordan's like, "No, I got the point guard," who was like their best player. And Daly's like, "Are you sure?" He goes, Jordan says, "I got the point guard. He said some shit about me in the paper, and he's going to learn tonight." And and Charles looked over at a couple of teammates. He goes, "Man, this dude's crazy." But that's the shit. This unknown guy from Portugal said something, and he put it in his bank, and he's going to show him.
That's
Shut your
the thing
fucking
though.
mouth.
It was personal to him, and that's
Yeah,
great
like who
because
does that?
every championship was like a line in the sand. So like, and we didn't even touch base on the fact that in between these three peats, he went and played professional Major League Baseball. So
Yes.
we're not we're not gonna
Yeah.
touch on that because that's what in the end, you can talk, like I say, you can talk stats all day, but unless you were there, you'll never really get it. And we're trying
No,
hard to make you guys understand. If you want to, we'll talk anytime you want to talk about it. But Chicagoland in the 90s didn't just watch Jordan and the Bulls. You lived with
you
Jordan and the
lived it.
Bulls.
Yeah.
And I say completely, it was Jordan and the Bulls. So game nights were holy. We would make a
Hmm.
special dinner for it. At least I would. You guys would come over and eat me at a house at home. And you could walk down any street or into any bar in Marseilles, Illinois, where we grew up, where we were watching this in the 90s, and the whole city would be on the same team. So, anytime with, if Mike got up, for a sick jumper or another sweet, like a rebound on the free throw jam, like we still see today, it makes you proud. You had nothing to do with it, but it
Nope.
still made you
Nope.
proud.
Yeah. You just drew a sense of pride, and I think that's just common in any fan base of any team that's successful, especially. There's you
Maybe
somehow get this vicarious pride through your team's performance.
it's true, and I mean, it's like I said, you guys we were. I think that might have been one of the reasons. No, it wasn't one of the reasons, but I remember when, like I said, the Bears won their championship. That team was legendary, and it always will be. And that's the same thing I think we're feeling now with these three-peats, repeat the three-peat, uh, with the Bulls. That those teams were legendary.
Yeah.
And the second iteration, like you say, when Rodman came over, and Horace Grant became a force, and it's like. I did not know. I just found out the other day. How tall was Tony Kukoc?
Like 6'11", something like that. He was
Yeah, no
close
shit.
to
I thought
seven
he was like a.
feet.
I thought he was like a 6'6", shooting forward, but he
No,
was
he
6'11", and
he
he
was
could move.
long. Yeah. And that's why he was considered so special at the time, because he's playing a small man's position at 6 foot, 6 foot 11 or 10, whatever he was.
But it's like, because I can remember like, going to work at, oh God, what was it General Railroad? And it was after a CBS game of the week on Sunday. You had a few beers, the Bulls won, but you carried yourself a little different. You come in, you're like, that ain't that bad. You're talking with people like, you see that last night? Like,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. But I'll tell you something, I call Texas home now, and I've been here for the better part of 10 years. But that part will never leave Chi-Town.
Nope.
My kid, still sees it too. I'll still wear a Chi-Town shirt now and again. But I can still feel like the vibe from the south side, the old crappy stadium, the old brick buildings and the cold gyms. Every time even to this day, you still see, some little kid take a shot and he'll go, Jordan.
I saw a refreshing little sight last night. I went to the Morris football game, and there was a kid, couldn't have been more than a sophomore, in the stands wearing a Jordan jersey. I'm like, there it is. That's it. Probably the youngest guy I've seen wearing any Jordan stuff in a long time.
It hit me hard that last one I told you I was gonna stop forwarding you Instagram videos, but you saw the interview and it looked like he was in his mid 50s. And even like, at the very end of the interview, he got choked up. He's like, they said
Oh
that
yeah.
they brought it up. They said that was, your
You didn't
fierceness,
want to play
your
like that? Don't play
yeah,
like that.
yeah. He almost, started
Yeah,
tearing up.
had to
And
cut it off.
but and you saw
Because
what he did for his father on Father's Day, and he's on his face crying at me because he knew he couldn't get the paparazzi away from him, so he had to lay on the floor and he would
right,
be with
try to
himself
have
for
a
a while.
moment.
Yeah, and so again, that's like makes you look like, if I saw him, because you saw recently at the Ryder Cup, he was in the audience, and if I was had just happened to be at the audience or in the Ryder Cup in the audience, I'd walk up and I'd say I wouldn't be afraid to say, "Hey, Mike, how you doing?" It's just it feels like
Well,
he's
yeah,
like
because you grew up with him, you feel like you know him, kind of thing. And I feel like he wouldn't be so standoffish as to like turn you away.
he might.
You think?
No, he wouldn't. Not. He would see it in your eyes. Like I can see it in your eyes now because you got that. It's not just a reverence for Mike, but it's a feeling of
I
that
have a
time period
reverence
we
for
went through.
greatness of all kinds because
Hey, you're embarrassing me now.
I can't, I,
And now you're embarrassing me. You're not supposed to laugh.
everything we've just talked about exactly mirrors my feelings toward Tiger Woods. When I look at
Yeah,
Tiger Woods
yeah.
stats and stuff like that, and having watched this kid in prime, it's like you've never seen anything like it, and we never will again.
Yeah, and like I say, I'll remind everybody, like we talked earlier, if you can, because I'm not sure when this is going to air, do yourself a favor, watch the repeat of the National League Championship Series, what the Dodgers did to the Milwaukee Brewers. Haha. But sorry, I said Wisconsin thing. It's never going to leave. But
No.
uh, but starting pitcher, 10 Ks, leadoff hitter, 3 home runs. One
Yep.
one of those
And,
home runs left the field.
and I'll give you one little Jordan-like twist to this, in my opinion. This is literally just following an article I read no more than 2 days ago. What's wrong with Shohei in the playoffs right now?
I
And
laughed when I
it
saw that.
and it's like he saw this and said, "Huh? I'll show you what's not wrong with it." You know what I mean? I immediately thought this is almost Jordan-esque, the way he might have saw the bad press and said, "I'll show you."
Yeah, you saw that after watch
And
if
here
you
you
watch the
go.
highlights, you watch when he's coming home after his first home run. He's got that look on his face. He's like, "Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's get started, bitches."
Yep. He just this is my house and you guys are just
Yeah,
living in
God bless him.
it.
Well, Mook, thank you for spending time in Mitch's house today. It's been a fun discussion. I like ever since this topic came up, I knew you were the one that I had to talk with it about.
Yeah, it's I can go on forever. Most people can because he gave us so much to go on about. I
Yeah,
mean,
and you
the
see,
stories don't end.
I'm just shaking my head because I remember, and granted, it was a best time of my life, married with 2 young kids, the Jordan era. See how quickly I went from that, like from married with 2 kids, it's supposed
Yeah,
to be like to the
that's
Jordan
that's
era.
the story, not the other thing.
It was just a
You
great one, but then great friends, which I'm still maintaining to this day, which is cool. But it was just and like we talked about, and
we
I'm not
lost
breaking bad
one
at it,
this week though.
but I wish you could have lived it, you guys. I really do.
I sad to say we lost one this week, one of our
Yeah, we lost a good
friends.
one, and if I'll do a hat tip to Johnny Martin right now, Marseilles, Illinois. Nothing, he was a
God
great,
bless.
great kid. Uh, Taco Tuesdays at Johnny's house were
Ugh.
just the best. And but that again, that's the family. That's the family and
Can
that
I
we
just
felt
tell
back
you
then.
a weird moment while we have a minute? Because I'm not a big believer in like spiritual things sometimes, but one of the last times I had bumped into Johnny was last summer. Like I'm leaving the gym after a good workout, and I hear somebody kind of just do the little light honk and then say, "Hey, what's up?" I look over and there's Johnny in his truck in the gym parking lot. And we just stopped and chatted for about 10 minutes and caught up, you know. And the other night, and because I learned he passed away on like Thursday, I guess. I hadn't heard about it till last night though. And I was leaving the gym a couple nights back, and just for some reason, as I'm walking across the parking lot, I looked around and thought, man, I remember the last time I was kind of walking out. One time I was walking out here and I bumped into Johnny and just stopped and chat. I don't know why that popped into my head, but it popped into my head just a couple nights ago, and then I find out a couple nights later that he passed away. That's
Don't doubt
just
it.
it's just weird to me.
There are some weird stuff that happens like that.
But I mean,
But
why would I think of that particular thing at that moment? I don't know. It's just baffling to me.
I gotta say though, I was a little bit embarrassed. I do appreciate you putting on a shirt, and this is my cheap segue to let everybody know that the Mitch merch store is up and running and has fresh new fall merchandise. So if you want to
Smooth,
go
by the
to
way.
mitchwonders.com, just on the upper left, you'll see shop, and it'll take you over to the next page, and you can either click and buy the Mitch book, huh?
Oh, there you
Or
go.
or you can just hop into the store and take a look around. But I wanted to point out to everybody, there's one shirt on there that they put a special design on it, and every penny generated by sales of that shirt goes to support our military veterans,
Nice.
the National Veterans Foundation, who is run by and supports directly veterans. So every penny from that shirt purchase goes to that. But if you want to support Mitch, support our veterans,
Very cool.
support uh, it's on the old Mitch merch store. So Mook,
Yes,
again, always a pleasure, and hopefully I'll
always,
see you again
brother.
next time.
Yes, we'll do it. And it's always a pleasure. Appreciate you, brother.
Later, bud.
Peace.